that. That's a lot of miles on you. Like some of your baby mamas and your girlfriends got a lot of miles on them. There's a lot of miles on that belt. A lot of miles. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Midwest Cone. Remember, go to hyphylife.com, promo code CONE. We got Professor Williams here today. Now, before I even get started, man, I always talk about the things you do outside of jiu-jitsu. Like I always express, when people see me, the first thing they want to talk about is weightlifting and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. However, I'm a children's book author and I have a behavior intervention program that I work with kids. So for me, that's one of the cooler things that I do. Jiu-jitsu is just secondary. Jiu-jitsu is a part of my life, but there's a lot of things that people do off the mat that make them special. One of the coolest things about him, I'm gonna let him tell you.
Put me on the spot.
I'm gonna let him tell you.
Okay, so before my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu life, I ran a lot of miles and I worked extremely hard. I made 2 Olympic teams, the 1992 Games in Barcelona and the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta. I ran the 10,000 meter. Then I retired from distance running, professional distance running in 2002, and then I fell in love with Jiu-Jitsu and I've been doing it ever since and meeting cool people like Kong.
What your instructor do, huh? What your instructor do? Did he go to the Olympics? Did he? So anyway, man, another thing that drew me to Professor Williams was the fact that it has been years since I met somebody who also played half guard. Now, that's not the technique he's doing today, but the first day I heard about him was probably 2018. I think summer of 2018, winter 2018, and all I kept hearing was, hey, you got to meet him, you play half guard. I came down, we had a good training session, so now I'm here. We train together. We also have a match July 10th together.
Yes. So
now we're going to be competing together, side by side, so it's going to be dope. I'm excited for that. So we're going to get to the technique of the day, so we get some no-gi training in. So first, before I start off, I appreciate you for inviting me.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're part of MJJ.
Awesome.
And like I said, guys, this belt right here, when your belt start looking like that, that's a lot of miles on you. Like some of your baby mamas and your girlfriends got a lot of miles on them. There's a lot of miles on that belt.
A lot of miles.
So at the prior videos, man, y'all know I like to play the coyote grip. That's this outside foot here. Don't bring it too close. This I don't like so much because if he can stretch it still, it's still gonna be hard to fight. So I like to play down by his ankle, and then when he stretch, I like to guide it. When you stretch a little bit, I like to guide it. So here, you don't have really that much power with it. So look, a lot of people inbox me about the deep half entry, all right? First of all, shoulders is key. Remember I said that before. If my shoulders is facing this way, it's easier for him to come in and flatten me. Boom, okay? If my shoulders is here, it's tougher. Now, maybe we don't get the underhook. Maybe we don't get it. That doesn't happen all the time. So we gotta use other parts to be able to be successful when we're going into the deep half entry. So this time, when I go for the deep half entry, I keep the shoulder close. He got a tight grip here. I can't get the underhook, can't get in. So I'm gonna use this hand and I'm gonna catch down here. We either catch his belt, we can catch the bottom of the lapel here. I prefer the belt grip. Get right at where his buckle's at, okay? So now, from here, we go 4 fingers in, you can grab it this way. I've seen people I've taught do it that way, but I prefer we do it this way. Now from here, I'm better here. When I'm ready to go, this is the problem with the deep half. People go from here and go under and try to turn out. Me personally, this hand swims, and I'm gonna take my head and take it that way. So when I turn in, I turn this way. And then I enter. Okay. So again, he doesn't give it to me, so now I get tight as I can, reach for that belt, grab the bottom of the lapel, whatever you want to do. So I'm here. Now this is, you can't keep your arms straight, because you put pressure on, it's going to be high, so you got to get tight, keep your head low. So when I'm ready to go, I'm pretty much going to wipe my face with his body. And remember, my head goes in this motion, half a circle, dive under, switch.
All right, so today's technique, I'm going to show a side control attack. I've been working on this a lot. Pass someone's guard, get into a tight side control position. And what my goal is here is to clear this arm on the inside. A lot of times the elbow's in the inside. So I'll take my hand that's closest to the hip and I'll feed it through into the bicep. Come over here real quick. So I want to feed this through, lift my hips with a lot of pressure and feed it underneath. Now I start walking toward his head, lift his head off the mat, wrap the head, make sure his chin's in the ceiling, bring my head to the opposite side, grab the hip, push him away, make sure that chin is underneath the armpit, drop your forehead to the mat, and then give it a squeeze. And that's the finish. So one more time, you pass the guard, establish a good tight side control, bring them in, take your hand that's closest to the hip, bring it inside, pin the bicep, pop your hips up, walk north-south, drive the head forward, quickly wrap the head, make sure your opponent's chin's to the ceiling, drop your torso on the side of the head, bring your head to the opposite side, push his hips away and control the hips, drive his chin to the ceiling, head to the floor, and squeeze. It's a real tricky choke. Not really tricky, but once you get to the side, a lot of people they're expecting you to continue on the choke, and this is just one to get in a good position to finish.
So that was techniques of the day. First of all, what's interesting about this particular choke he did is something that people always call the big man choke. Until I came to class the other day, I never knew how to finish that. So I just abandoned on it. So these types of things in jiu-jitsu, there was one technique that he showed, one particular small, minute technique that he showed is why I was struggling with it. And that was pushing the hips away. I would stay so tight and I wouldn't flatten my hips out as I go back.
Right.
So that's the thing I tell everybody about jiu-jitsu is, and I'm sure this is obviously you know, that it's frustrating, but sometimes it's literally just an inch or a minute movement that makes the technique work.
Yeah, I think both of us know, like over the years, all the years we've trained, every time you come in, you can learn from everybody. Yeah. And that's the beauty about jiu-jitsu, right? It doesn't, white belt, black belt, 20 years, how many years you've been training, we can still learn these details. I learned that little detail from Marcelo Garcia black belt in New York, and it made a big difference.
Yeah.
And then now I'm teaching it to white belts all the way through black, and they're landing it. That's the biggest thing I think what we love too, is we love competing. We love sharing technique and watching somebody hit it. It's like that makes my day when I see somebody hit
it. It was interesting, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. When I used to compete a lot, I was very stagnant in my technique. When I competed a lot, which nothing against people who compete. Everybody who competes is great, you know what I'm saying? Whoever get on that mat, put online is great. But where my mind, where I was messing up, for me personally, was I wasn't focusing on jiu-jitsu. I was focusing on what I knew about jiu-jitsu and only getting good at that.
Right.
Whereas certain scenarios I didn't train. Like I didn't train on my back for a long time. Coming from a wrestling background, I didn't train on my back. I didn't train certain submissions because the head and arm choke, the Kimura, the Americana was those big guy chokes.
Right.
So again, when I started to want to learn jiu-jitsu was when I started competing less as I got older. So when I started to want to learn jiu-jitsu was when I started to realize that you get a little bit older, you can't compete as much. So my advice to people is, like you said, never stop learning. We are always going to be good at what we do.
Right.
I've been playing half guard for 13 years. So I switch up to butterfly. Now you will never catch me playing full guard. That doesn't happen ever. But I have an understanding of full guard. So my advice to people is train everything. Try to get an idea of jiu-jitsu as a whole. And just apply certain things to your game. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But at least if you're competing, you know how to deal with it.
100%. And you know, that and learning how to escape.
Escape.
Just like the other day we did situational training. I said, hey, if you're better than the person that you're going with that day, change something up where they don't know you're doing it. Maybe use your left hand more. Maybe use a different type of guard. And that's the whole beauty about this game. I tell all my students when they walk in, you should be able to beat the person that walked in here when you walk out. Don't worry about anybody else. Learn from everybody that's at the school. But you should be able to learn one thing during that class when you leave that you could beat the person that walked in. And that's the way people should look at it. Because it is a chess match. It's a physical chess match.
Yes,
we're always trying to go around the board. And when we get older and we start getting beat up a little bit, we change our games a little bit. We're always trying to learn the whole game and then move on from there.
And absolutely. So look, man, you heard it here from the great belt. You don't. Hey, listen, you can't buy them that look like that. They gotta have some traction on it, like your girl that you like on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna go there. That's for another content. I help you out with that. I appreciate it, Professor Williams. Thank you for the technique, man. Thank you for everything. Make sure you go to hypefullife.com, promo code CONE. Make sure you go to his YouTube, which is just Todd Williams.
Just Todd Williams, yeah.
Just Todd Williams. Go to his YouTube. And look, man, continue to get better. And for the questions of people saying, how do you do jiu-jitsu and lift weights? I use more technique than I do strength. But strength is still a factor sometimes, so don't get it twisted. Make sure you go to hypefullife.com, subscribe, and like the channel.
We need Kong. The world needs him.